to day 2 of our Taj Mahal or Indian inspired buildings. You should have your building drawn, and today we are going to add some color. Now, I'm going to show you how to make it look like a sunrise or a sunset background. One of the amazing things about the Taj Mahal, because it's white marble, is that the color reflects or takes on the light of what's around it in the sky. So sometimes the building looks kind of purple or pink, sometimes it looks yellow. It depends what time of the day it is. So we're gonna do like a sunrise or a sunset background, but if you just wanna make a solid color blue background and put some clouds in the sky, you could do that too. All right, let's get started. So to make a sunset background, you want to start with clear water on your paper. So it's called a wet on wet technique. So wet paint on wet water technique. And then you want to take your first color. I would do like a pinkish, purplish color for your first color. If you need to mix red and blue, you can. Or if you have like a pinkish color on your watercolor pan, like a magenta color, that's what I used. Then I'm going to pull that color up a little higher with just clear water. And then I'm going to put a little bit of yellow in there where I put that clear water. So the yellow can fade into the magenta color. And I'm just going to keep doing that as I go up my paper and mixing in different colors that you would see in a sunset. Maybe I would put orange in there. Maybe I would put some blue in there as the night sky begins to darken. As I get closer to the top. Another thing you can do is wet your paper and then just put kind of more random kind of stripes or patches of color in there. You don't want to do too much of this because you don't want it to be too confusing and too busy to look at. But it's okay for those colors to bleed down into the colors underneath them. That's what's going to make it look like realistic, like a sunset in the clouds. You want to make sure you're painting all the spaces behind your building, like in between the towers and all of that stuff. If you get too much paint in an area like I did, you can either blot it away with a tissue a little bit, or you can just take clear water and push that paint around on your paper. You want to work really quickly because you don't want to get lines of color on your paper. In other words, you don't want the paint to dry before it fades into another color. And that happened to me right here in the middle. So I'm going to put a little bit of a darker shade of blue up there so that hopefully that won't be quite, that line won't be quite so obvious. So I'm just going to fade from to like a darker blue or a purple more for a night sky. And I'm putting wet on wet paint here. Wet paint on wet paper. And then you're just going to paint the rest of your picture everywhere except for the Taj Mahal building itself. I'm not going to paint that area. If you finish painting and you have time left and you wanted to put some flowers and some vines on your building, you could do that around the area, kind of on the facade or the front of your building, up above the arches and around the arches. So to paint the reflection of the building in the reflecting pool, I painted like a blue watercolor around where I had drawn my building so that the water looked darker. And then I just painted some wavy blue lines anywhere where I had drawn my building so that it looked like it was a little bit lighter wherever the building is in the reflection. And now I'm painting the grassy area around the Taj Mahal. Honestly, I don't know if there's grass around the Taj Mahal. It's probably some kind of marble right around the building, but I've never been there. But I'm just going to put grass there. So the supplies you need today are, you need your watercolor pan, a watercolor brush, and a cup of water. If you want to maybe blot something away, or just in case you have too much watercolor paint in an area, it's a good idea to have a tissue or a paper towel close by. And you need your drawing from last week. If you didn't get a chance to go over your pencil lines last week with Sharpie or black crayon and you want to do that today, then you need a Sharpie or a black crayon for that. But again, you don't have to do that. I like the way that looks, but if you don't have those materials or you don't want to do that, you don't have to. Okay, boys and girls, really quickly, if you want to do kind of stripes of color, then you're going to do wet your paper first with clear water and then put your color down. Or if you want to do more like blotchy kind of random bits of color, you still want to work with wet paper and then wet paint in those areas. So either way, you're going to use the wet on wet watercolor technique. All right, have fun painting your Taj Mahal. If you have time and you would like to do a little shading on the building to give it form or dimension to make it look round, I will leave you with a picture of mine that I shaded in a little bit so you can see what that looks like. All right, have fun coloring your sunset or sunrise pictures.